Hey everybody, out here doing that old do-it-yourself stuff again. My heater went out, the HVAC, and that happened when we had that big winter storm that came through. You remember that one that came across Texas, blew across the Gulf of America, through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, into the panhandle of Florida, even probably further south of the panhandle, and into Georgia, right out to the ocean. Well, when that happened, our heater was going and going and going. It was getting beat to death. And I did get concerned about it because it's an old unit. We had this unit put in November of 2021. And it served us well, but this is what happened. That thing it just constantly going. And we had our thermostat set at like 69 degrees. But I remember it just kept going and going. I'd go to sleep and I said, something's gonna give. So it's an old system, and I wake up, I don't know, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a few weeks ago now. And it's cold, and I says, man, it quit, so I get out of bed, and I can hear this really crazy buzzing sound coming from the attic. So I went up into the attic, and I pulled the pull, that circuit breaker pull thing. And then the next day I got out here, and this is the do-it-yourself thing, and I'm definitely not a professional at this. It's like hit or miss in a lot of YouTube videos, and here's where it all goes to. A long time ago, this thing, like I says, we had to put in 2002, it was, November 2002, 01. And it was about 10 years ago it quit working. And I called up a tech, one of these AC places. They sent a man out, and he comes out here, and in like 10 minutes he's fixed it. And all he did was take this plate off, like 5 screws, pulled the plate off, and he put in this capacitor. This is the exact one he put in, about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And the old one he pulled out, and it cost me like $200. And I thought, wow, that guy just got $200 and he was here for maybe 15 minutes. And I says, I'm not going to forget this. So when this thing went out, a few weeks ago, I got on YouTube and I look up this stuff. This is a heat pump. And, they could call that the, I can't even think of what you're calling it. But the heat pump, and then it's got what I call the air mover in the attic. We're going to go up and look at the air mover too, and I'll show you everything I've been doing. I haven't been successful yet I did get it to crank up a couple times, the condenser. But anyways, so I pulled this off. I went down, I bought one of these. This cost me $16.80 for the new one. New one's in there. And when I put it in, it wouldn't come on. Nothing was happening. I was like, crap. And that's when I kind of said, I got to get me a service tech to come out. And the guy came out here, and he did this and that. He's checking around. And before he even got here, just a few days went by. The weather got really, really good after that storm, and we had other things that were more important to get done than this because we didn't need it. It was so nice here. We didn't need heat, and you didn't need AC. It was perfect. It was like springtime in the Rockies. But he came out, and I started thinking about it. And that pull, there's the pull. Yeah, I pulled it out, but I put it back in the wrong place. I put it back in. You see, I got 2 boxes. We used to have, when we moved in here, This has two pads. We had two of these, one for each side of the house, and then they replaced it. They said, oh, you only need one. It's a 4-ton, and it's probably too small, and that's another reason why I've got trouble. But still, this thing's going on like 23 years old. And I am getting old. I'll be 73 in a few more months, and I pulled it out of here, but I put it in there, which caused me issues. But we figured that much out. And that's why I marked this, so I'll never make that mistake again. I know it goes in the XV15er. And so then the fan started operating and all that, and the inside was running. I thought, oh, wow, this is great. But then he's testing things. He says, oh, man, this thing's super duper low on Freon. And this is so old, you need a new unit. This thing's going to collapse any day now. And we're actually having a special this month. If you get in right now, you can save yourself thousands of dollars because of this is our month to give you that special. And I've heard this line before. I mean, this thing's running now, and it's blowing cold air in the house, and it's blowing hot air. And I says, well, let me think about it. He quoted me $11,500 to put in a new unit, and it's running. And I'm thinking, why do I want to spend that kind of money for something that's working? It didn't work for very long. Next thing you know, that night, it sounds like that. It's a real loud hum buzz sound coming from the attic again. And I'm like, crap. So I turn it off again, and I start investigating again. And it turns out that what I got off of YouTube, that you've got another one of these deals up in the attic for the air mover. That's not the correct terminology, but I'm just calling it that. So I says, we'll replace that then, because it says if you're getting that big humming buzzing sound up in the attic part, then you need to replace the capacitor. Now this one here, it's not, if you got a bad capacitor, a lot of times they'll swell up, or you'll see stuff dribbling out, because there's a liquid in here along with other things, but there's a liquid. And what this thing does is it kind of gives a boost, in this case for the heat pump down here, to make the compressor kick in. Up in the attic is a little bit different. Anyways, he also told me, the tech, that this thing was real low on refrigerant, and that was another problem. He says it was down by about 4 pounds. He says it's got a 9-pound capacity, and this thing runs on what they call R22, which he said they don't make anymore. And if you got to find a place that scavenged it from another system that's being replaced, and it costs you $500-600 per pound, which is saying, well, if I need 4 pounds, we're looking at $2,400. And he's saying, yeah, and if it's leaked in it, then you're going to put in, it's just going to leak out. You need a whole new unit. $11,500. As opposed to, I'm thinking, well, let me still, I told him I'll get back with him, but I'm going to try to play with it. And when I did get it running, but then it quit again. And when it was running, I rewrapped this. That was giving off nice hot heat. You got the return line, and this thing set up that for the heat, it runs one way, and then for cold in the summer, it kind of reverses itself. I can't explain it. It's weird, but that's what they work, And then they got actually a heating coil up there too for like an emergency type thing, but you don't really want to be running off I think it's called the auxiliary. I could be wrong about that. It's on your thermostat control. So long story short, I'm getting senile, and I'm doing these things to just keep my brain busy, and I might get successful at fixing this. But let's go upstairs and we'll take a look at what's happening up there. Oh yeah, one last thing. He says that you got to pay $600. Well, I'll split it down the middle. $550 per pound of R22. Now, if you go on eBay and you type in R22 Freon refrigerant, it comes up and they selling it, and it's really reasonably priced. But if you look at it close, it's called eco or an ecological, some kind of, it's an environmentally safe R22. And it's not. It's BS. Do not, in my opinion, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't put it in. First off, real R22 is not flammable. The stuff they're selling on eBay, what they call R22, it's got methane in it. It's highly flammable. So, I don't want something that's highly flammable in a pressurized system that's going through my house, that's got possibility of springing a leak and spraying into this red hot heater coil that auxiliary thing should be on, and whatever, and my house burns down, so you don't get that. But R22, if you look it up on the internet, you Google it or Yahoo it or whatever, you're gonna see that they do make it. There's a place that makes it, and they have 2 locations. One's in Texas. It was either Houston or Fort Worth, and the other place is in Arizona, and it's actually very affordable. I could have bought a canister, whatever you want to call it, a cylinder of 5 pounds for like $350, I think. $350 for 5 pounds. This guy's telling me $2,400 for 4 pounds. Wow, nice markup. And I thought, when I saw that success, I can get Freon. I don't think this thing's actually that low on Freon, because when I did get it running the other night, it was pumping out nice hot air. I mean, really, really nice hot air. But I'll get to what happened when we get in the house. The drawback to that, I was all excited with the R22 refrigerant, and I thinking I can get that, and I don't need him, charging me that kind of money, until I found you have to have a license to buy it. The EPA 608 or something like that. You have to go to it. Like, you don't even have to go to school, actually. You can study at home, but it's a very complicated course, and I haven't got time. I haven't got a year to learn how to pass the test. I gotta get it fixed now. But I don't think I need the R22. All right, let's run upstairs now, and I'll show you the other side of this thing. Okay, here we are. We're gonna run up here into the attic, into my little bird's nest, and I'll show you what is happening up here. They say the third time's the charm. Well, I've already tried 2 things, and both things have sort of worked, but then failed. And I'm hoping the third time is the charm. Okay, we're up here. We're looking at, by the way, this is, I think I said it was a 4-ton. It's a Kenmore / Goodman. See Kenmore, but it's made by a company called Goodman. I think they're in Texas too. And you can see in there, I'll vacuum that stuff up. But this is probably the problem. And just so you know, it also says if you get that weird loud howling buzzing sound coming out of here, when this plate was over this covering it, you couldn't really put my ear to this. I couldn't tell where that sound was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere, but it's coming from this thing, the capacitor. And this was the capacitor that was in there. And now this one here, I don't know if it's showing up good, but you can see a little black ooze there. That's liquid. And this one here, if you shake it, you can hear. I don't think you can hear it, but it's messed up. It was gone. They're both, real old. This one here's maybe the original. I'm not sure. So then I went and I bought a new one, and the new one, if you look at it, this one was the one that cost $10.20. But they are the same. This one was made in Mexico. This one is made in China. Why it's longer, I don't know. But the other one, the unit downstairs, the heat pump, same thing. when I bought those ones were a cylinder type capacitor, and the new one was made in China, and it was a little longer, you know, bigger. Maybe it's better, maybe it isn't, I don't know. Sorry about the shadow. I don't know what's causing it, but when you take these out, you know, this was in there like this, and had this little strap holding it in, and then this was plugged into it. One on this terminal and one on that terminal. And when you disconnect this, you got to ground this out using, I wish you could see better. Maybe this will work better. Yeah, that should. So you see that. You got to ground that out by holding, you know, like a lot of people use a screwdriver. I used this. And they were saying you don't want to use a screwdriver or something to ground it out that's chromed. You know, I really don't know. I'm not a tech. I'm just going by what I've heard on YouTube. And if you don't, these store energy, and you could get yourself a pretty good poke, I guess. They say not deadly or anything, but not comfortable. So, having said that, also I have a pull up here, which I've already, you know, that's out. When you're working on this stuff, definitely make sure that you have turned off the power. I actually thought I had it all off the other day when I was working there. I had it only off here, and I didn't have the this I guess the lower voltage off, but I didn't get poked. All right, so after I put the new capacitor in here, we went and turned it on that night, and she came on, and she started blowing nice hot heat, and I was just feeling good, you know, finally success. So, had it turned on, good hot heat coming out, and the temperature got up to, we had it set low because the house was so cold I didn't want to run it up, you know, have it run forever to get the house up to where it was. So I had it set at 66. It was down at like, the house was at 64 at that time. And I put it at 66, and it got to 66, and it shut off like it was supposed to. And then I said, okay, let's just wait. And we waited and waited till the house cooled down again. When it got below 65, I guess, it kicked back in and started running. And it second time, though, it only ran for about 5 minutes, and then it stopped. And you could hear that wicked humming and buzzing coming from up here again. So, at that point, what I had read, it says if that happens, then it's telling you that the motor in here is no good. And you got things going on with these motors. Now, you can see there's a squirrel cage in there, right? Again, I don't know why, but I can't seem to get, all right. But you see that squirrel cage. And if the motor was bad, you couldn't spin the squirrel cage. But you can. I'm trying to get in here and spin it. Jeez. Well, you saw it spin, and you didn't hear no grumbling or rumbling sound. So I think the motor's good. But they also said that the motor could be good, but that the motor itself also has capacitors in it, along with a couple of these other little things. I don't know what they were. I can't remember. They were something like heat sinks or something. And they said if those get bad, then it won't run. You know, it will do the same thing, the big humming sound. So what I've got to do is pull this thing out. This is this is the third time's the charm, or the third time's the game ender for me. It's one way or the other. And the point is I'm getting at is this thing here, if I just said, okay, replace it, $11,500. I've already spent some money on some stuff. I bought mastic tape, the 2 capacitors, another thing, I forget the name of it, which hasn't even arrived here yet. It would be for the heat pump down, outside, which probably wasn't even necessary. I got it. And I bought a set of gauges. I got gauges, but they wouldn't tell you what, they wouldn't read R22. So the ones I got are for cars. So the gauges I ordered haven't shown up yet. They were cheap. I've literally got the motor will be the most expensive thing. I don't know exactly which motor I need for this, but I'm looking at maybe $150 to say $250. Bottom line is, if I buy a motor and put it in and it works, and it really works, I'll have this thing fixed for under $500, and it might last a long time because it was really putting the heat out. I mean, it's running good. We've never abused it. I know it's old, but I'm willing to take a chance. I'm gambling, say, $400 or $500 in some of my time to maybe save me $11,500. That, if I can do it, we get the, we're old, and if we get this thing to work till we're not longer here, I would be very happy. Now on the other side over here, I want you to see all the gadgetry on this side. When I do, by the way, when I do take this out, I've never taken one out before, let alone up. I've got very little room up here to work in. It's not great. I don't know how a big, huge person would work in this place, do this for a living. But this thing is heavy. And I'm going to put some blocks of wood here and over this side, and then loosen it up, take the screws out, so I can slide it out to me onto these boards. And then further on behind, then I can remove these boards and maybe tie a rope to it and lower it slowly down to the floor. That's what I plan on doing. And then getting into it and taking it apart and finding out if it is the motor, then I know I'll at least I'll get some more use out of this. I for sure will. That thing there's hanging down too. I gotta put a screw in there to get that back up where it should be. But over here, you got your little circuit board. This is the old system, so it's not as complicated. The new ones have a lot more little gadgets on them that can go wrong. And there's a possibility there's something here could be also affecting me. I don't know yet. But after if I just decide, yeah, it's the motor, and I do get another one. That guy was also telling me it's impossible to find motors for these without spending oodles of money. And I don't know, that's what he said about the R22. And we'll find out. That's about it. Well, I've been coming up and down this little ladder quite a bit over the past few weeks. That mastic tape is really incredible. That was $33 for that. But that stuff is really good stuff. And the paste isn't that expensive. It's like $16 for that bucket. It's, I think, a gallon. But this is where I'm working, and this is what it's like. And all I can ask you is, hey, give me a like, leave a comment. I'm not looking for advice, but if somebody knows something, hey, tell me if you've got something I should know, please tell me what I could possibly be doing wrong, and if you got an idea of what would be a good way to fix it. And of course, subscribe. Everybody, have a great day now. Take care.